One of DC Comics' biggest claims to fame is its dark and gritty characters and storylines. Some of these edgy storylines have been adapted to the big screen in either live-action or animated films, but some storylines are just too dark to be adapted into a movie. So today, we're going to be discussing DC's top 5 darkest storylines. Most of DC's stories at least try to evoke a little bit of hope and happiness, but these stories are tragic all the way through. Without further ado, let's dive into DC Comics' darkest moments. Number 5. Heroes in Crisis. Everyone knows that the life of a superhero is hard. Every day, these heroic individuals have to battle against some of the worst evil in the universe. They witness some of the most horrific things imaginable while still acting as a beacon of hope for the rest of the world. A life like that leaves deep scars, both physically and mentally. The Heroes in Crisis storyline reveals just how deep those scars really are. In order to help these heroes heal, the Justice League created an anonymous rehabilitation center called the Sanctuary. This place was designed so superheroes and reformed supervillains could talk about their traumas and seek mental help. A great idea that could have truly helped a lot of people, if only a massacre hadn't taken place there. The story kicks off with Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman traveling to Sanctuary and discovering the murdered bodies of Arsenal, Blue Jay, Commander Steel, Hotspot, Lagoon Boy, Gunfire, Red Devil, Narc, Protector, the Tattooed Man, Wally West, and Poison Ivy. A dozen heroes and reformed villains were murdered at the same time. The only suspects in the killings are Booster Gold and Harley Quinn, who were both at the Sanctuary when the murders happen. Harley and Booster go on the run while the rest of the Justice League track them down. At the same time, Lois Lane has been receiving recorded therapy sessions from the deceased heroes sent to her by a mysterious figure called the Puddler. Eventually, it's revealed that it was Wally West, the Flash, who was responsible for the massacre at the Sanctuary. While receiving therapy, Wally became paranoid that he was the only one struggling with his mental health and that everyone else was lying to him. He broke into the Sanctuary's computer system and watched the therapy tapes for all the other heroes. Witnessing that much trauma all at once broke him. Wally lost control of his Speed Force powers and accidentally killed most of the people at the Sanctuary, except for Booster Gold and Harley Quinn. Instead of facing the consequences of his actions, Wally decided to frame Booster and Harley for the murders. Using his super speed, he staged the crime scene to incriminate them and also created the Puddler identity to forge a murder mystery to distract the other heroes. He also faked his death by traveling 5 days into the future, killing himself, and bringing the body back to the past. By killing himself in the future, Wally created a time loop that infinitely repeated. Eventually, the time loop was broken and Wally decided to take responsibility for his actions. The storyline ends with Wally in prison, but determined to make amends for his wrongs. The thing that makes Heroes in Crisis so dark is seeing our favorite heroes and villains go through so much trauma and pain. Throughout this storyline, we're shown clips of therapy sessions where characters reveal their darkest secrets, fears, and regrets. Many of them have emotional breakdowns and expose real vulnerabilities. And if that wasn't enough, we also have to see these characters die and witness how their closest friends and families deal with their loss. It's also rough knowing that the cause of this grief is Wally West, a fan favorite of many DC fans. Heroes in Crisis is a painful read, but it does show readers the importance of mental health and seeking help when you need it. That message of hope is absent in our next entry. Sometimes when heroes go dark, they don't come back. But before we uncover more of DC's dark history, be sure to subscribe to the channel with notifications on to never miss an upload, and smash that like button for some plot armor today. Number 4. Emerald Twilight. It's not uncommon for superheroes to occasionally break bad. Sometimes a hero gets mind-controlled and is forced to be a villain for a bit, or they've been pushed too far and have gone rogue. These can be fun storylines because you get to see a new side of your favorite character. And usually these moments don't cause any lasting damage, and the hero returns to normal at the end as good as new. That was not the case for the Emerald Twilight storyline. In this storyline, the villains Mongol and Cyborg Superman destroyed Coast City, the hometown of Green Lantern Hal Jordan. After Mongol and Cyborg Superman are defeated, Hal returns to the city to find nothing left but a crater. The loss of his home and the deaths of thousands of innocents overwhelms him. In an act of desperation, Hal uses his power ring to recreate the entirety of Coast City, including the people that died. For a brief moment, Hal enjoys the fantasy land that he's created where everything is perfect. Eventually, his power ring runs out of energy and the fantasy ends. Because Hal used the power ring for personal gain, he violated the Green Lantern Code of Conduct. He receives a projection from the Guardians of O telling him to surrender his power ring. Instead, he steals the energy from the projection and makes his way to Oa. The Guardians send other Green Lanterns to stop Hal, but they all end up being defeated. Hal steals the power ring of each lantern that he beats, increasing his power tremendously. Hal even attacks his closest friend in the Green Lantern Corps, Kilowog. When Hal finally reaches Oa, the last lantern he has to face is the one that trained him, Sinestro. But even Sinestro's skill isn't enough. Hal breaks Sinestro's neck and even goes so far as to vaporize Kilowog for trying to stop him. Hal Jordan has killed his two strongest connections to the Green Lantern Corps. After crossing the final line, Hal enters the central power battery and steals all of its energy. This kills all but one of the Guardians and imbues Hal with incredible power. Now that Hal had the power of nearly every Green Lantern, he took on a new name. Hal Jordan became the villain known as Parallax. Unexpectedly, one of DC's most iconic and beloved heroes made a complete 180 into a villain. This wasn't some alternate version of Hal from another dimension or an illusion. Hal Jordan had murdered his closest friends and betrayed everything he stood for. The Emerald Twilight storyline was mostly done to introduce a new Green Lantern into DC's mythos. The lone surviving Guardian used the rest of his life force to create a new power ring and bestowed it to an artist named Kyle Rayner. Rayner would take Hal's spot as the main Green Lantern for the next couple years. Seeing the most popular Green Lantern turn evil, murder his friends, and then be replaced with a new Green Lantern might not be the story that DC fans want to see on the big screen. It was eventually revealed that Hal Jordan hadn't turned evil. He had been possessed by an ancient fear demon named Parallax that forced him to do evil. Although this means that Hal wasn't responsible for his actions, the Emerald Twilight story still left a major mark on Hal's legacy. Many fans still hold resentment towards Hal because of this storyline. Adapting this story into a film would only add to that grudge. Some heroes are too far gone to ever get redemption. Our next entry is the embodiment of evil. Number 3. The Batman Who Laughs. Dark and gruesome storylines are what define Batman as a character. Ever since he was a kid, Bruce Wayne has been fighting a constant battle with himself. Out of every DC character, Batman struggles the most with his fear of becoming just like the villains he fights. But what if that internal struggle became a literal one that happened in the physical world? The Batman Who Laughs answers the question of what would have happened if Batman didn't hold himself to any rules or morality. A Batman with the mind of Bruce Wayne, but the ruthlessness of the Joker. In the DC universe, there is a place called the Dark Multiverse. In this multiverse, worlds are created from the greatest fears and nightmares of the primary multiverse. On Earth-22, the Batman Who Laughs was born. In this reality, Batman was finally pushed too far by the Joker. He murdered Batman's entire rogues gallery, melted Jim Gordon's face off with acid, bombed hospitals, and recreated Bruce's childhood trauma by murdering parents in front of their children. All of this was too much for Batman to handle, forcing him to do the unthinkable. He broke the Joker's neck, killing him. But like always, the Joker got the last laugh. As he was dying, the Joker infected Batman with a toxin that would slowly turn him into the Joker. The transformation allowed Batman to keep his genius intelligence and detective mind, but gave him the twisted personality and desires of the Joker. This new Batman gunned down the Bat family in cold blood. He used children that had been Jokerized to form his army of Rapid Robins. Using brilliant strategies and specialized weapons, Batman murdered the entire Justice League. His most gruesome murder was Superman's. This demented Batman used a piece of black kryptonite to force both Superman and his son John to kill Lois Lane. After defeating the Justice League, there was no one left to stop Batman from taking over the rest of Earth-22. Once the conquest was finished, Bruce Wayne became the Batman Who Laughs because he's the Batman who always wins. Eventually, this Batman set his eyes on the primary multiverse and attacked Prime Earth. Our Batman had to fight against someone who knew all of his contingency plans, secrets, fears, and weaknesses. The thing that makes the Batman Who Laughs so terrifying is that he's willing to do anything to win. He has no morals or boundaries that he's unwilling to cross. The innocent, the vulnerable, and even children are all fair game to him. This version of Batman is willing to exploit any weakness in his opponents, no matter how depraved or cruel it is. In all the multiverse, there is no other version of Batman more evil. If the Batman Who Laughs ever made it to the big screen, no one would ever view The Dark Knight the same. We've seen heroes go full evil, but what happens when they dance on the line between right and wrong? Can they still call themselves heroes? Number 2, Identity Crisis. So far, all the entries on our list have had a singular commonality, that being superheroes doing something evil or unforgivable. But in each of these storylines, there's always an excuse or justification so that the heroes don't receive too much blame for the harm they caused. It was an accident, they were overwhelmed with grief, they were possessed, or it was an evil doppelganger from another dimension. For our next entries, there are no more excuses. Heroes that are supposed to be the standard for good and justice now dive headfirst into gray morality. The Identity Crisis storyline shows that even the greatest heroes can make bad choices. This story kicks off with another murder mystery. Sue Dibney, the wife of Elongated Man, has been brutally murdered. The primary suspect is the villain Dr. Light, who had actually raped Sue Dibney years ago. He was stopped by a small group of Justice League members consisting of the Atom, Black Canary, Hawkman, Green Lantern, Zatanna, and Barry Allen's Flash. Although they had managed to capture Dr. Light, he now knew the identity of Elongated Man's wife and swore to also attack the loved ones of the rest of the League. The small group of League members then voted to use Zatanna's magic to not only erase Dr. Light's memories, but also alter his personality to make him less dangerous. Although this was successful, it also had the unintended effect of making Dr. Light a lot less intelligent. He basically received a magic lobotomy. While the Justice League is searching for Dr. Light, Green Arrow reveals all this information to Wally West, who is the current Flash. The fact that the Justice League would mess with a person's memory shocks Wally and challenges his faith in the League. Green Arrow also confesses that this wasn't the only time that the Justice League had erased a villain's memories before. Any time that a villain discovers a superhero's secret identity, Zatanna erases their memories. When the League finally locates Dr. Light, they discover that he's hired Deathstroke to protect him. During the ensuing battle, Dr. Light recovers his memories and swears revenge against the Justice League and escapes. After studying the evidence, it's determined that Dr. Light could not have been Sue Dibney's killer. As everyone continues to search for the murderer, Green Arrow drops another bombshell on Wally. Superman is aware that members of the League tampered with Dr. Light's memories. His super hearing allows him to know almost everything, but Superman chooses not to confront anyone about it to prevent the League from breaking up. Even the Big Blue Boy Scout is willing to look the other way. Soon after, multiple family members of superheroes are attacked and threatened. Lois Lane receives a death threat, and Jane Loring, the ex-wife of the Atom, is hanged inside her apartment. Luckily, the Atom finds her and saves her before it's too late. The final victim of the killer is Jack Drake, the father of Batman's current Robin, Tim Drake. While at home, Jack receives a package with a gun and a note telling him to defend himself. The killer had hired Captain Boomerang to assassinate Tim Drake's dad. Both Jack and Boomerang end up killing one another. Tim Drake finds his father dead on the floor, and another of Batman's sidekicks becomes an orphan. While everyone in the Justice League grieves over the loss and spends time with their remaining family, Green Arrow reveals one last secret to Wally. The night that they decided to erase Dr. Light's memories, Batman caught them in the act and tried to stop them. The group decides to also erase Batman's memories of the event to keep the League together. Green Arrow heavily implies that Batman knows that his memories have been altered, but doesn't try to fix them because he knows it would damage the League. The storyline concludes with Sue Dibney's autopsy finally being completed. Her cause of death was an injury that happened inside her brain. This type of injury could only be caused by Atom's shrinking technology. At the same time, this is discovered when Atom figures out that his ex-wife Jane was the killer. She confesses to the crimes, but claims that she never meant to hurt anyone. Jane took Atom's shrinking technology to attack the family members of superheroes and fake her own attempted murder so that Atom would come back to her. She had accidentally killed Sue and staged the crime scene to cover her tracks. She sent the gun and note to Jack Drake in the hopes that he would survive the assassination attempt. Ultimately, Jane is sent to Arkham Asylum, and Wally also decides to keep quiet about the memory erasing so that the Justice League can continue to function. By the end of the Identity Crisis, no one comes out looking good. Multiple members of the Justice League are shown willing to cross moral lines that you wouldn't expect. These members will even violate the trust between each other if they think it's for the greater good. Other members are shown to be willing to look the other way to maintain the status quo. This is also one of the few storylines to both depict and address sexual assault, a topic most comics try to avoid. Identity Crisis challenges the trust that we put in superheroes in a very graphic and shocking way. The personal lives of superheroes can get pretty dark at times, but there's one DC villain that turns any story he's a part of into an absolute nightmare. The worst thing about it is that he always does it with a smile. Honorary mention, The Killing Joke. Not all of Batman's most gritty and violent storylines are too dark to be adapted to film. The Dark Knight's most famous storyline actually has been turned into an animated film and is frequently referenced in other media. The Killing Joke, written by Alan Moore, both redefined Batman's relationship with his greatest enemy, but also permanently altered the character of one of his closest allies. The Killing Joke is both the origin of the Joker and also one of his most gruesome crimes. The story begins with Batman visiting Arkham Asylum to see the Joker. He tries to convince the Joker to end the cat and mouse game between them because eventually one of them will kill the other. Ultimately, Batman realizes that the man he's talking to is not the Joker, but a decoy. The real Joker has escaped and is on the loose in Gotham. Within the city, the Joker has turned an abandoned amusement park into his base of operations. While he's there, he remembers the life he had before he became the Joker. Back when he was a normal man, the Joker was a failed comedian with a pregnant wife that loved him. To support his growing family, the Joker agrees to help two criminals rob a chemical company that he used to work for. But before the heist happens, the Joker's wife dies in an accidental house fire. He tries to pull out of the heist, but the criminals force him to help them. During the robbery, the criminals make the Joker put on a mask, becoming the original Red Hood. The heist goes wrong, and the criminals get killed by the police while the Joker is confronted by Batman. The Joker panics and decides to jump into a vat of chemicals instead of being captured by Batman. The chemicals bleach his skin and turn his hair green. Because of one bad day, a normal person was transformed into the infamous Joker. In the present, the Joker and his goons visit the home of Commissioner Gordon. When his daughter Barbara Gordon opens the door, he shoots her in the spine. While his henchmen kidnap the Commissioner, the Joker undresses Barbara and takes pictures of her. It's also implied that he sexually assaulted her as well. Barbara is taken to the hospital, where it's revealed that her legs have been permanently paralyzed from the shooting. When Batman visits, she asks him to save her father from the Joker. Jim Gordon has been taken back to the amusement park and stripped naked. The Joker's men lock him in a cage and force him to view the pictures of Barbara that were taken. This is all a part of the Joker's plan of making a good man like Gordon insane. While Gordon is being tortured, Batman eventually locates the amusement park. Batman frees Gordon, who has miraculously maintained his sanity and morality. He tells Batman to capture the Joker so that he can face justice and prove that the system works. Batman eventually captures the Joker and tries to convince him that one bad day doesn't have to turn you into a monster. The Joker tells Batman that it's too late for him and that it's impossible for him to get better. The story ends with Batman and the Joker sharing a laugh together as the police arrive. The Killing Joke gave some much-needed context to the Joker's worldview and why he does what he does. From this point on, the Joker became a much more in-depth and complex character that challenged Batman on a philosophical level as well as physical. The story also set Barbara Gordon on her path to becoming the Oracle, a superhero hacker that continues to fight crime despite her disability. Despite the Killing Joke's interesting themes and messaging, the story is incredibly cruel and violent toward beloved characters like Jim and Barbara Gordon. If The Killing Joke hadn't already been adapted into a film, it would certainly have a high spot on our list. Although The Killing Joke isn't the darkest DC story, the Joker definitely earned the #1 spot with our next entry. Number 1, Death of the Family. We've gone through some seriously gritty and disturbing storylines so far, but the last is easily the darkest. It's bloody, violent, traumatizing, and horrifying all at the same time. There's no better villain for a storyline like that than the Joker. The Death of the Family storyline is the dark culmination of the Joker's entire history with the Bat family. It starts like a lot of Batman stories do, with Joker escaping Arkham Asylum once again. This time is different though. Inside his cell, the Joker has left his own flayed face behind. For the next year, a faceless Joker is nowhere to be seen. When he finally does return, the Joker steals his face back from the GCPD's evidence room and loosely reattaches it. Batman warns the entire Bat family that the Joker is back. The Clown Prince of Crime then goes on a murder spree that leads Batman to Ace Chemicals, the first place that they met. There, Batman finds Harley Quinn dressed as the Red Hood. Once again, she's been manipulated into doing the Joker's bidding. After a brief struggle, she warns Batman that the Joker is different now. Batman receives a message from the Joker telling him that he plans on killing the Bat family because he believes they have made Batman weak. When Batman returns to his mansion, he discovers that Alfred has been kidnapped. The Joker claims to have discovered the secret identities of each Bat family member. Batman confesses that years ago he discovered a Joker playing card in the Batcave, but decided not to tell the family that the Joker might know their identities. This sparks major conflicts between Batman and the rest of the family as they blame him for hiding this possibility from them. Ultimately, the Joker captures Batman and the rest of the Bat family. The entire family is forced to attend a mock dinner doused in gasoline within the cave system leading to the Batcave. Everyone except for Batman has their faces covered in bandages. A brainwashed Alfred arrives and presents Batman with a dish containing their severed faces. The Joker ignites the gasoline, but thanks to some quick thinking by Batman, he manages to save everyone. He removes the bandages and is relieved to discover that the family still has their faces. Batman chases the Joker to a cliff where he claims to know the clown's true identity. The possibility of Batman revealing the Joker's real name scares him so much that he jumps off the cliff with his reattached face flying off. While Batman and the Joker were fighting, the Bat family had been gassed with Joker venom and forced to fight each other. Luckily, they managed to overcome the toxin before they seriously hurt one another. At the end of the story, Batman discovers that the Joker never actually knew his identity and didn't care who Batman was behind the mask. Batman asks the family to meet with him, but they all decline. Everyone is still clearly traumatized, and their relationship with Batman has been heavily damaged. This isn't even the full extent of Joker's attack against the Bat family. The Death of the Family storyline had multiple crossover issues to explain how the Joker captured each Bat family member. The Joker kidnapped Batgirl's mother, recreating his assault against her during the Killing Joke. To save her mother, Batgirl is forced to marry the Joker, the man that paralyzed her. Batman's son Damian is captured when he's forced to fight a Joker version of his father to the death. Because he's unwilling to kill Batman, Damian chooses to die. Before he can be killed, the Joker kills Batman and knocks out Damian. It's then revealed that Batman was a fake. Nightwing is captured when the Joker uses Joker venom to mind control his former lover and his friends from Haley's circus. He is confronted with the corpses of the circus members that he grew up with, and his former lover dies when he is knocked unconscious. Jason Todd, the Red Hood, is forced to re-experience the deaths of his mother before he's kidnapped. The Joker puts each member of the Bat family through a living hell. He makes them relive the worst moments of their lives while creating new traumas for them at the same time. The Death of the Family storyline is the sickest and most twisted that the Joker has ever been. No one escapes this story without a new mental scar from him. It is truly the darkest DC storyline. Well, we hope we didn't give you any new nightmares. What did you think of our ranking? Do you know a darker DC story that we've missed? Let us know in the comments. Thank you for watching to the end. Until next time, keep that plot armor on you. I'm Jack Stansbury, and have a great day.